Hello and welcome back to the College Football Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Daniel. I am here to talk more about the college football world and everything that includes and all of the news and hype and everything like that. So, um, as the title of this episode suggests, we're going to be talking about Coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime to many of his beloved fans, um, and we're going to be talking about some of the statements that he's made quite recently about recruiting players and the type of homes that he wants certain position players to have and how that has become slightly controversial in the more college football world, which part of me understands. The other part of me is like most coaches view this is their way of viewing players, and it's just he's the first one that said it out loud, so it's not really anything new. But it's just new that he's saying it differently. So this is from 24/7 Sports, and this is a quote from Deion Sanders himself. So this is his words. Now my defensive line, he says, O line, I look for dual parent homes, a strong father that they adhere to, smart kid, at least 3.3 GPA and above. Now, my defensive lineman is totally different. Single mama trying to get it off, get it, trying to get it. He's on free lunch. I'm talking about just trying to make it. He's trying to rescue mama. And then his quote for the quarterbacks are different. We want mother father, dual parent. We want that kid to be 3.5 GPA and up because he got to be smart. No bad decisions off the field at all because he has to be a leader of men. Now, I definitely understand how these statements from Coach Prime can be completely controversial because you're starting to talk about the dynamics of the family at home, and that can have a lot of psychological effects to each person differently. And he's making pretty generalizations, but this is the way a lot of college football coaches especially look at their players. It is one of the reasons why there are things like at home visits. Uh, they want to see the dynamic between the player and their family because, in a way, like it or not, the football team that they're going to be on, their starters or the line that they're playing with, they're like a family. So if you're treating your family bad at home, a coach is going to wonder, how is this player gonna come in and affect the dynamics that are in the locker room that's already there? If he's got a good dynamic in the locker room, why does he want to bring in a player who, if he treats his parents bad at home, he's gonna come in and maybe now he treats if he's a quarterback, maybe he treats his wide receiver bad, and he treats his O line bad, and he yells at them when when stuff isn't their fault, or he's being completely unjustly critical. And this is some complaints that players have had about other players in the past. And one of the biggest examples that I can think of is the South Carolina quarterback Spencer. I can't remember his full name, but I think his last name was Spencer, and he went to South Carolina. He goes to South Carolina. I can't remember his full name. I'm so sorry about that, but um, he was at Oklahoma, and the players at Oklahoma hated being around him. They did not like how he treated them. And this is one of the reasons why Texas A&M was so bad this year, was because they had so many players. Even though those players have 4-5 stars attached to their name, they brought the locker room dynamics down like a rock in water. It just sank so badly that players started to perform who were previously listed as 5 stars as like 1-star players, or players who just apparently didn't know how to play football because even though the field and the off-field lives are separate, you still bring a portion of your off-field life onto your field, and that goes for any sport at any moment. Most players, when they are struggling at home, they're going to struggle on the field. It's going to lead into something like a slump. In baseball, a pitcher might not throw as well. In soccer, a player just might not be all together with it. In football, a quarterback might throw the ball worse, or a wide receiver might start forgetting his routes, things like that. That is one of the issues that high school coaches have to deal with. Is you not only have to deal with their play on the field, but sometimes when they come to practice, maybe they're having issues at home with their family and they're not performing to the level that they can perform to. And you now have to be this, secondary figure in their life that can help, bring them out of the slump that they're in. And college coaches are a lot like that too. They provide that stability, especially when, for a lot of these guys, this is their first time. This is their first time away from home. It's their first time not being with family or not being around people that they trust implicitly. And it can really affect their mindset. These kids can get homesick and things like that. And so these coaches have to provide that family feel. Some coaches, they do that by inviting their players to things like a Thanksgiving dinner or a Christmas dinner or something along those lines. Others, they say, if you need a place to sleep, you can crash on my couch, or you can crash on, my spare bed at home. I know high school coaches in particular, not personally, but I know of stories where they're like, if you need a place to crash, if your, parents are not treating you well or something like that, you can come over to my house a few nights a week if you want. I've got a spare bed, I've got a spare couch, I can handle it. Come over, we'll take care of you, we'll feed you. Some coaches are like, in the morning, if your family doesn't have enough money for food for breakfast, come over to my house. I'll cook for you. I'll do this, I'll do that. They go above and beyond what their designated call is, and they'll do that type of thing. And so the idea that college coaches, who have a lot riding on the performance of the players that they bring in, are looking at this as well, is sort of, and this being controversial, is sort of baffling to me. I mean, Coach Prime he's not the first coach to look at players through this type of lens. He's just the first one to say it out loud, or at least say it as explicitly as he has. And he's not necessarily trying to get, he's got exceptions for all of these, and he's going to have exceptions. These aren't a hard line rule, but what he wants a defensive lineman that is aggressive, that's going to go get him, that's going to make those moves, that's able to bull rush like a bull in a china shop, essentially. That's what he's trying to get out of that defensive lineman. And an offensive lineman, he's trying to be able to get them smart enough so that they can pull a block when they need to. They can memorize the over 100 plays that college players usually have to memorize. They can, sometimes it gets up into the multiple hundreds, 200, 250 plays. Some of these college teams have very large playbooks that we as fans never see. So it's not, it isn't, necessarily new. And quarterbacks, wanting your quarterback to be intelligent, again, he has to be able to memorize these plays. He has to be able to tell the plays differently. You've got, seconds to tell your quarterback over the mic in their ear what play you want. And sometimes you can't get it all out in time, and you have to rely that your quarterback is smart enough to know which play as a coach you want them to run. He also has to be able to, think like, oh, there's 5 seconds left on the clock. I got to spike the ball really quick. We just got this first down on the 5-yard line. we're not going to be able to set up and run the offense properly, spike the ball. You got second down right now. So that's another thing. So we've talked about Coach Prime, not a huge deal. Um, in my opinion, at least, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but I understand why some people may be a little offended by it. I think that's, I still think it's dumb, but I can understand some people being offended by it. So the next thing I want to talk about is draft. Is again the draft, and I'm going to be going over 5 players I think could reasonably go number one, and one player who I think if you went number one, it'd be a huge stretch. So depending on who's choosing, I think these players can all go number one. So first player, Jalen Carter, a junior out of Georgia. He's an interior defensive lineman. He's listed as 6'3", 310 pounds. He obviously played on one of the best defenses in college football. And it was the best defense in college football for 2 years in a row. So Jalen Carter. So this is all from the Draft Network. This is their scouting report for his draft profile. Jalen Carter was a highly regarded recruit that was compared to Pro Football Hall of Famer Warren Sapp. The athleticism for a defensive tackle is obviously a result of being a 3-sport athlete in high school. Along with football, Carter was also on the basketball team and a big weightlifter. He came in second place in his heavyweight division by bench pressing 395 pounds. It's a lot of weight. His first 2 seasons on the field were as a rotational disruptor until he became the unquestioned starter in 2022. Carter has been called the best defensive player on the historic 2021 Georgia defense. His motor runs hot on both run and pass plays. Carter does not lack effort. He is seen chasing the ball to the far sideline and upfield as a backside defender. In the run game, despite not having the frame of a traditional nose tackle, Carter holds up well at the point of attack reduced inside. He plays the 0-1, 3, and 5 techniques. I love his body control to handle double teams and corkscrew twists through blocks to impact the ball carrier. I noticed improvements with his lower body to anchor and hold his ground to clog running lanes. His power can be overwhelming for opponents. He can stonewall zone reach blocks to sit up and occupy that lane. Carter cuts off those blocks well and leverages gaps well for young players. He shuts down door/designed gap in the face of running backs. He's a difficult task to move consistent. He's a difficult task to move consistently in the run game. As a pass rusher, Carter's versatility is on display. He exchanges gaps on a routine basis with the defensive line games Kirby Smart ran. The lower body flexibility to drop his weight and dip slip underneath blockers' hands was impressive. In moments he does get to attack a single gap, he has a devastating club/swim combination that knocks offensive linemen off balance and creates clear paths to the quarterback. He has the hands and functional power to simply drive blockers into the lane of their passer. When he fires off the ball to his passer, Carter's first step is quick and puts him in the offensive lineman's space in a hurry. Carter remains a very young player, and it shows in his game. He is not the most technically refined defensive prospect at this stage of his development. He does not rush with a consistent plan to attack pass blocking schemes. He relies too heavily on that club swing combination, and it opens his chest for quick, powerful handed punching linemen. He needs to continue to develop his pass rush hand package to take his game to the next level. Georgia used him heavily as a looper on twists and stunts to free up other rushers, but to his technical detriment. His pad level needs more consistency to fully take advantage of his raw power. He will pop straight up out of his stance after the snap and surrender the immediate leverage advantage. In all, Carter is a top three player and arguably the best prospect in the 2023 class. His raw athleticism and physical strength are a dangerous combination for blockers to handle. The way Smart used Carter is not how I envisioned an NFL defensive coordinator deploying him. Carter is a day one starter, and his ceiling is very high. Iron out some of the technical wrinkles in his game, and this young man can skyrocket in the NFL as a disruptive force on the defensive line. Now, this is from the Draft Network, so they have several reasons to buy in, and they have several reasons for concern. The three reasons to buy in: body control, raw power is the second, and the second is raw power and athleticism, and the third is a high up ceiling. Being he's very young and he still has much to learn, I can see that high up ceiling being going through the roof. I mean, I can see him being, the best defensive tackle in the league in 3 years time. Top reasons for concern: pass rush plan, 1 year starter, and technical refinements. Yes, he needs that technical refinement, but I believe that he can get that with the right defensive coordinator. His pass rush plan, yes, he relies too much on his club and swim movements, but when that's all you need to be successful, you don't really branch out of that all that much. Sometimes you might bull rush or something like that. And 1 year starter, I don't always give a lot of credence to how long a player was a starter, because sometimes it's just there is so much talent at the position that this player is still incredibly talented, but there were just other players that were older and arguably better at that position that he had. So he's considered 6'3". His weight is, I think they said 310 pounds. He's going to, I'll talk more about, his athletic testing after the combine. So ideal role for him would be 3 technique defensive lineman. His scheme fit would be a single gap penetrating attack, and his TDN consensus grade was 91 out of 100, which that's a great grade for anybody. That's a hard grade to give out and not think of as first round talent. So the next up is Will Anderson Jr. Again, all of these scouting reports are from the Draft Network. They're a great network. I trust them a lot. So he's an edge rusher. He's also a junior. He's 6'4", and he's about 243 pounds. He might, that size, the size might be a little overblown, slightly, although he doesn't really need to lie about his size all that much. But like, when you get to quarterbacks that are smaller, like Bryce Young, they might overblow their size a little bit. So in the 2022 season, he had 10 sacks, 12 QB hits, 13 tackles for loss, and 28 tackles. All very quality statistics. So Will Anderson Jr. has been one of the most recognizable and decorated defensive prospects of this era. During his career at Alabama, Anderson has been named a two-time All-American, two-time All-American, a two-time Nagurski winner, and a Bednark Award winner. Anderson finished his career with 34.5 sacks and 62 tackles for loss, only trailing Derek Thomas in school history. During his time at Alabama, Anderson was utilized in multiple defensive lineman alignments, lining up as an edge player, 3 technique and 4 technique, which puts him in a position to attack the weak spots of a defense and disrupt plays with physicality. Anderson consistently made game-changing plays in both the run game and as a pass rusher, showcasing relentless effort, physicality, and being the most intense player on the field. As a run defender, Anderson has a unique style in that he attacks the offense's blocking scheme. On pulling plays, Anderson attacks upfield to meet the offensive lineman and deliver a high-impact collision to disrupt the structure of the blocking scheme, and it often results in a tackle for loss. Sorry. for Anderson or a teammate. On edge contained plays, he shows to have great technique and functional strength. He can properly set the edge and keep leverage by keeping his opponents outside hand free to make a play. The most unique element of Anderson as a defender is the play called twist and stunts that Alabama utilizes, which allow Anderson to attack the interior gap of an offensive lineman with momentum, overwhelming offensive linemen with power, speed, and physicality. In the run game, his style is all about attacking and physically imposing his will on offensive linemen and being to be a dominant run defender. Much like how he profiles as a run defender, Anderson also wins in the same way as a pass rusher. He on high percentage passing downs, Alabama utilizes him on twists and stunts, which makes it difficult for Alabama to key on for offensive lines, to key in on him and potentially double team him. When looping from an outside gap to an interior, Anderson accelerates around the corner and has power and speed that can be too much for offensive linemen to stop. Anderson has great acceleration to get past offensive linemen and close to the quarterback. When he's put in a position to take a traditional pass rush track on the outside edge of his tackles, he has an explosive first step, and his functional strength shows when he can convert speed to power to get to the quarterback. Anderson's hand usage as an outside rusher shows in his two-hand swipe. He also prefers to use a long arm to apply force to the offensive lineman and collapse them back into the quarterback, meaning he just likes to push the offensive lineman back into the quarterback. It's pretty simple. Looking at the details of Anderson's skill set, there's an area for improvement as a pass rusher. As of now, Anderson is a pass rusher who is reliant upon only a couple of moves to win as a pass rusher. This allows offensive linemen to prepare themselves for power. Right now, offensive linemen take a inside leverage approach to Anderson and force him to play through their frame. Anderson could improve by becoming more diverse as a pass rusher and adding more speed and counters to his game. Anderson could improve by adding spin counters, hesitation moves, and cross chops and cross the face of the offensive lineman. This will present a wider area for offensive linemen to have to block and better present angles for Anderson to get to the quarterback. Overall, Anderson has proven to be a dominant edge player that plays with the passion and intensity wanted from a high draft pick, and the character franchises want for a face of the franchise player. So he's the player that I think, I know in my previous conversation with Andrew, I said that I liked Jalen Carter better. I've actually started looking more at film of Will Anderson. And I'm starting to really I respected him before, but I'm starting to really respect him now because I just see that. But I can also get where this person is coming from, and he needs to have swim and club moves, and he needs to have a bunch of different things that he can rely on, because that bull rush or the inside moves are not always going to work against linemen in the NFL. So. All right. Top reasons to buy in: high athletic profile, dominant run defender, sack production, and high character. Top reasons for concern: position specific player, which I think most edge rushers are. I don't think a lot of edge rushers are going to be used as linebackers, like true linebackers, not rushing linebackers. They're not. It's not going to be like Roquan Smith, where sometimes he's used is used as a linebacker and sometimes used as a rusher. And development as a nuanced pass rusher. Again, we went through his height and his weight. It says his 40 time is 4.55 seconds, which is pretty good for an edge rusher. It's not, edge rushers are usually a bit bigger and they're usually slower than wide receivers, but 4.5 is very respectable. His best scheme fit is probably a 3-4 outside linebacker. And then his consensus grade is a 92.5. which is first round value. So, all right. So the next prospects, the next three prospects are quarterbacks. That I like personally. I like CJ Stroud the best over Bryce Young. So draft season is kind of weird where players can jump way up the draft boards, and some can drop like way down, and it can be crazy. And that's one of the reasons I love draft season. It's fun to watch. So CJ Stroud delivered 2 elite seasons as the Ohio State Buckeyes starting quarterback. He was named the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year twice and became the first player in program history to be a 2-time Heisman Trophy finalist. He is the first quarterback in the history of the Big Ten to have back-to-back seasons with 30 or more touchdown passes, logging 44 in 2022 and 41 in 20 or 20 in it's supposed to be 44 in 2021 and 44 in 2022 44 in 2021 and 41 in 2022. They wrote 2022 twice. I don't know why. So after a shaky start in 2021 when taking over as Ohio State starter, Stroud settled in and led one of the most dynamic offenses in college football for 2 seasons. Stroud offers an impressive blend of size, passing game instincts, and mobility to make him a dynamic player. Stroud has good arm strength, although I stop well short of calling it elite. He generally does well to read coverages, identify leverage, and give his targets opportunity to make plays on the field. He's more than willing to identify matchups and test man coverage. He has impressive flashes of accuracy, especially down the field. Stroud is an excellent anticipatory thrower. I really like his approach and how he blends aggressive throws with taking profits when necessary. He cares about the football and rarely puts it in harm's way. Stroud has a good feel for the rush and maneuvering within the pocket. I actually think this is one of Stroud's weaknesses is he doesn't run when he should. Sometimes he stays in the pocket too long, but he does also maneuver a lot outside of the pocket. So he doesn't he's not a running quarterback. I understand that. But I think if he filled more of a JJ McCarthy type role, he might have done better at Ohio State. So because he seems fearful of the run for me. So he is in full command of the offense, and it appears he is involved with setting protections, locking routes, and crawling audibles at the line of scrimmage. Stroud has a variety of clubs in his bag and does well to put the appropriate weight on the football. I like that golf reference. He knows when to dial up the fastball, baseball reference, love that, and when to use his off-speed pitches. Again, baseball reference, love it. After an elite showing in 2021 Rose Bowl, in the 2021 Rose Bowl against Utah, his performance in the college football playoff against Georgia was exceptional. That was a masterpiece game for him. He played against a potentially all NFL lineup on that defense and played it to perfection. He did not lose that game. That win or that loss was not on him. That was on his team. That was on the defense mostly, who kept getting burned at certain points. It was not his fault that they lost that game. He did everything he could, and it showed. When it comes to concerns, Stroud has a tendency to drift away from pressure despite showcasing good elusiveness and movement within the pocket on other occasions. Like most quarterbacks, Stroud doesn't illustrate great comfort under duress, and his play can come unraveled when pressured. Given the architecture of the Ohio State offense and the frequency of option routes, Stroud can be a touch late with decisions and appears he's confirming targets to be open before pulling the trigger. And that said, there's plenty of instances of strong anticipatory throws, so that issue is intermittent. While it improved from 2021 to 2022, Stroud can be toesy in the pocket with his heels off the ground. This creates challenges when with setting up his base and leads to irregular throwing sequencing, negatively impacting his ball placement in those instances. We got a taste of how effective Stroud can be with his leverage against Georgia in the Peach Bowl, but most of the time as the starter, he was far more reluctant to weaponize his legs, which I think was his biggest weakness. It's I think that was his biggest weakness, and I think that could be changed. Stroud profiles as an NFL starting quarterback that is worthy of a first-round investment. His game is still evolving, which creates excitement for what can continue to be unlocked at the next level with the right infrastructure around him to reach his full potential. Reasons to buy in: accuracy, game instincts, and production. Reasons for concern: consistency under pressure, tardy decisions, and pocket drifting. And Stroud is 6'3" at 218. His 2022 season stats were 3,600 yards, almost 37. He was at 3,688. So 3,688 yards, 41 touchdowns, 6 interceptions with a QB rating of 125.6. I think he's the best. He's the best quarterback prospect on the board this draft cycle. But next year, I don't. If he and Bryce Young were put in next year's draft, I don't even think they would break top 5 in best quarterback prospects. And to be fair, also, CJ Stroud did lose to Michigan 2 times. And as a Michigan fan, that makes me immensely happy that there is a quarterback who started against Michigan who never beat Michigan as a starting quarterback. So super happy about that. Bryce Young. My feelings about Bryce Young are well known. He is listed at 6 foot and 149. Take about 2 inches off of that 6 foot and you might get to where what his actual height is. And take about 14 pounds off of that pound and set him at 180. He probably weighs about 180, 5'10", 180. I wouldn't doubt that was his actual stuff. I struggle to really trust that he is actually 6 foot because he does not look it. His 2022 season stats were 3,328 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions for 114.9 QB rating on paper. And I think in overall, Stroud is a better quarterback. Throughout Bryce Young's career, he established himself as one of college football's best passers, earning the Heisman Trophy in 2021. He's also a two-time All-American, a Maxwell Award winner, and left Alabama second in career passing yards, 8,356, and second in touchdowns, 80 in only 2 years. Young has proven to be a quarterback who has high-level instincts for the position combined with plus-level arm talent. Young has consistently delivered in high-level moments for a program that is always in the spotlight, proving his poise and accuracy as a quarterback. That is one of the very good things I will say about Bryce Young is being the quarterback at Alabama is not an easy job. You're always getting gunned for by the new rookie, the new freshman coming in, by the people under you. People are always trying to get you. There's also a lot of hate thrown your way and things like that. And I'll actually make a comment about CJ Stroud and something that happened to him over the season when after this draft report. So Young displays many plus-level traits to like, but his 2 distinct difference-maker traits are his accuracy and football IQ. Young's accuracy is highlighted by his ability to deliver accurate, tight window throws at all levels of the field. In his time at Alabama, he was asked to make difficult throws consistently, and he did, especially against the Georgia defense that he played. Again, 2 years in a row, Georgia has had NFL-level defense. That there are teams in the NFL who would have struggled to play against, I think. In the short passing game, Young can get the ball out of his hands quickly and has proven that he can be a timing and rhythm thrower as a quick decision maker who gets the ball out at the top of his drop, delivering an accurate pass. Young understands the importance of not only throwing an accurate pass to the receivers, but also the importance of ball placement, which not all quarterbacks truly can do. Working at the intermediate levels of the field, Young does a good job of ball placement, throwing crossing routes in a place where receivers can catch the ball in stride and continue to run. Has also shown the ability to consistently hit opposite hash throws and comebacks against one-on-one coverages, showing a combination of accuracy and arm strength. Working the deeper portions of the field, Young makes his most impressive throws. He has shown to be able to mix up ball velocity and tempo to make deep throws. Young can drop the ball over receivers' shoulders or lead a receiver on a deep vertical route to allow them to continue to gain separation, not breaking stride, and continuing to maximize the play. So there's one thing I want to cover with that they said here. It was uh, he was able to mix up velocity and tempo. This is a huge, important thing that not a lot of quarterbacks can do. Sometimes you see a throw and it's like centimeters above a defender's arm who's trying to get it. And then it's like this. It goes like this, and this is the defender's hand, this is the ball, and then it quickly dips down into the receiver that they're receiving. It might be 5, however many yards after the defender it is. That is a special talent that very, very few quarterbacks can do. And there are quarterbacks who start in the NFL who can't do that type of throw. And I have seen Young make those types of throws before. It is a difficult throw to make. It is next to impossible to anticipate because of how quickly the ball dips down after it reaches a certain point. So it is incredibly hard to perform consistently or even perform at all. So that is one of the very few things that I really like about Bryce Young. Young's IQ as a passer shows through his ability to work through his progressions, throw with anticipation, and improvise to make a play out of structure. Working through his progressions, Young shows to be a calm quarterback who has in-depth understanding of the purpose of the offensive play and also understands the defense. Without pressure, Young has calm, quiet feet in the pocket and can get through all progressions. When he locates an open receiver, he has a quick release to deliver the football, working out of structure when protection breaks down. Young has done a good job of being able to escape the pocket, keep his eyes downfield, and deliver an accurate pass on the run. Young has a natural ability to make defenders miss and turn a negative situation into a positive play. Young's concern as a quarterback will come from his lack of traditional size and question about his frame hold up from the physicality in the NFL. Overall, despite his size concerns, Young has consistently played at a high level in the SEC, showcasing his accuracy as a passer, ability to read defenses, and ability to create, all of which are translatable to the modern era of playing quarterback in the NFL. I'll read the rest of this and then I'll speak about it. Accuracy and ball placement, high football IQ, ability to improvise and poise in pressure moments are the top reasons to buy in. The reasons for concern, size, and scheme specific. His 40-yard dash is 4.6, and he's projected as a starting franchise quarterback. His TDN consensus grade is 87.5. So I will say, yes, his strengths are all translatable to the NFL, but his weaknesses could, if he's injured half the season, then you don't have a starting quarterback. You have half of a starting quarterback because he's only playing half the games. We've seen problems with Tua Tagovailoa. I butchered his name, but again, there's issues there. I apologize to Tua, but I can never pronounce his name. And then there's also been problems with Justin Fields being injured. He's missed, I think he missed the last like 2 or 3 games because of it. So I don't think I ever read CJ Stroud's um, TDN consensus grade, which was an 87. So that puts him as higher than Bryce Young. The one thing I do want to mention about about CJ Stroud though is that so CJ Stroud is one of the big things he's known for is he doesn't check his social media during the season. Like he's often entirely because he doesn't, he says he doesn't want to see the negativity and that type of stuff. And I get that. Totally get it. I respect it even more. That he's able to do that. But he he said that he sometimes a few times over the course of last season got Venmos from people just so they could tell him how bad he was doing. And considering he was up for a Heisman for 2 years in a row, like that shows you the crazy amount of stuff that fans will go through to try and, get their player to listen to them or whatever, because they think they know what's best. I mean, it's easy to armchair quarterback. It's a lot more difficult to go out there and do it. And I totally get it. And just because I say these guys have weaknesses does not mean that I don't respect them or I don't respect their playing ability. I respect these guys immensely. They're doing stuff that I could never in a million years with a million years of training ever do. I don't have the size. I don't have any of the physical attributes that these guys do. These guys are amazing and they will continue to be amazing. And anybody who plays in the NFL or is like the top percent of athletes in history. And I think it's very amazing that they are able to do what they do. So, all right, next up. So those were the 4 players who I thought would go number 1. But I've recently been hearing that the Colts really love this upcoming player and that if they trade with Chicago, could take this player as a number 1 quarterback. Will Levis, which I don't understand why they would do this when CJ Stroud is ahead and is a much better quarterback and a much more closer to a finished product. But I understand that he's played in a pro-like system for a while now. He was a senior, so he's played there for a while. But he is 6'3". He's 232 pounds. He had 2,406 yards, 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and a 99.6. Excuse me, sorry, and a 99.6 2022 QB rating. Will Levis was a consensus 3-star recruit and the number 2 player in the state of Colorado. Levis lettered in football and baseball while in high school. His college career began at Penn State after redshirting as a freshman. Levis never took over the starting quarterback position. He was used as a power rushing goal line weapon. He transferred to Kentucky after the 2020 season and started for the Wildcats since 2021. There he has shown flashes of high quality quarterback play and his tantalizing sets of physical tools. Levis optimizes the phrase bet on traits. He has the requisite size, build, mobility, and arm talent NFL evaluators long for. His arm strength is outstanding and well on par among some of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. He has the ability to fit passes into tight windows and generate velocity / rotations per minute with minimal effort. Again, that getting the ball to dip down after the defensive player's hands, miss it. That is one of the things he's good at. Levis has the arm talent to make all of the NFL caliber throws. His throwing mechanics are clean, sharp, and aesthetically pleasing. Levis throws with a compact motion and a snappy release. The combination of his mobility and size can put man-to-man coverages in conflict. If left unaccounted for, Levis can scramble for big yards once he breaks contain. In addition, he expands the playbook with QB keepers, power, counter, and zone read concepts. This ability will force defenses to play 11 on 11, which is a very important skill that is often left more that is often left out. Forcing people to play one-on-one allows for just much bigger plays, and it always has. So during his 2 seasons at Kentucky, Levis has run a form of Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan's NFL offenses. This is a feather in his cap regarding terminology, making protection checks and calls at the line of scrimmage pre-snap. Levis has all of the physical traits to become a truck for an NFL offense. Carry them to positive outcomes. At times, Levis trusts his arm too much and will test coverage windows with multiple defenders. The result is in turnovers or near turnover throws. Levis does not consistently move defenders with his eyes, but looking them off. Accuracy and ball placement are not high in the strength column for Levis. I somewhat disagree with that, but not entirely. His lower body mechanics are routinely inconsistent. He starts his drops with a long stride and bounce and regather. That prohibits Levis from being set to throw quickly consistently. He needs to settle his feet to take full advantage of quick hitting concepts on a consistent basis. Basically, that's a bunch of word salad pretty much for he occasionally has trouble with the 3-step drop that a lot of NFL uses for quick throw concepts. So a lot of like quick slants for a big example. Um, NFL offenses will a lot of times run a quick slant play, and the quarterback will have to do a quick 3-step drop. But if you're doing, a long stride and then a bounce and then having to stop and regather yourself, that's a lot of time for a defender to come and tackle you. And that's something that is what is saying. So Levis has incredible arm strength, but he lacks the touch or ball speed on downfield passes. He struggles with the right amount of air under his deep passes. Levis tends to lock on to his initial passing option while holding on to the football without pivoting to the next read in the progression. Levis must cut down on turnovers and protect the football better to ever reach his potential ceiling. Throughout his collegiate career, he has 25 interceptions and 17 fumbles. This must be cleared up. 100% agree. You cannot be a college football or a professional football quarterback when you have 13.5 interceptions a season. At the very worst, you want to have 3 touchdowns for every interception. So if you have 13 interceptions, you want 39 touchdowns. You want to do better that, but that's the bare minimum that you can expect a college or a professional team to put up with for a starting quarterback. In projecting Levis to leave the NFL, patience will need to be exercised. Yes, he has the build, athleticism, and a high octane arm talent, but he is not a finished product. Levis played in 2 offensive NFL offenses, but was given a ton of half or narrow field reads. He is most efficient with play action, off the run fake, and in the quick passing game. Levis is a timing and rhythm passer. He uses his legs to help settle him down in games and give defenses different looks. He has everything you look for in a potential franchise quarterback. Just understand there are rough edges that require smoothing out. He's a high ceiling prospect with a diverse set of NFL outcomes. Levis could be the next Joshua Allen and or Justin Herbert. On the flip side, he could also be the next Carson Wentz or Jake Locker. Now, I get the Jake Locker criticism. Carson Wentz won a Super Bowl. Like, people forget that Carson Wentz won a Super Bowl. Is he lighting places on fire like Patrick Mahomes? No, of course not. There are not a lot of Patrick Mahomes. But if you need a quarterback, he's a solid one to have in your lineup. Okay, so let's stop. #stop Carson Wentz hate. Come on, stop Carson Wentz hate. #stop Carson Wentz hate. All right, it's just you don't need to do it. Reasons to buy in: high octane arm talent, prototypical model at position, high ceiling / upside. Top reasons for concern: slow processing, turnovers, and decision making. Um, so it doesn't give a 40-yard dash for him, but his consensus grade is 84 out of 100. It says he's a second round value. I'd agree with that. Although I have no doubt that he's going to go in the first round. What happens in the NFL is that they are so willing to take huge risks on players, that they're willing to take, even third round talent for, a top 10 pick sometimes. So don't love that. But now we're going to go on to a player that I have changed my mind consistently about. Last time we were on the podcast, so 2 times ago when we were on the podcast, I said Anthony Richardson was a 5th round talent, and I wouldn't take him any higher than a 5th round talent. And I've changed that now to about mid third round. And I've changed it because I've watched more of his play, his game film, and more of the anticipation type plays that he has learned from, and the fact that he is smart at football. When you watch him play, he does not make the same mistake twice. He is very good at learning from his mistakes and getting back to a position where he is, they may run one play in the first quarter. And then if they run the same play in quarter 3 or 4, he's learned from the mistake on the first play. So now he makes a big gain on the second play. So I just want to mention that before I got into this. So he's 6'4", 232. He passed for 2,549 yards. He had 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and he had a QB rating of 8.5 out of 3. So almost that 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Sorry about that. That almost that 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. That is the bare minimum that you need to have. So, all right, Anthony Richardson is a redshirt sophomore quarterback prospect who is listed at 6'4" and 235 pounds. Apparently, they have him at 232, but now it's saying it's 235. So I don't know. He entered the year with a lot of momentum coming off of a 2021 season where he played sparingly but showcased athletic tools and arm talent to be one of the best QB prospects in the draft. Richardson's first season as the starter, 2022, was full of both high-level moments and questionable decision-making, finishing the season with a stat level of, I just read that all off to you, so it's 25, that's not there's different numbers here apparently. So 2,549 passing yards, 17 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Up here it says 26 touchdowns, but whatever. I'm willing to go with the 26 touchdowns over the 17 because I think that just I think it's probably more accurate. All right. And he had 9 rushing touchdowns. Richardson profiles as a dual threat quarterback with great arm strength and athleticism to make plays with his legs, both on designed QB runs and out of structure when protection breaks down. As a passer, Richardson's arm strength and ability to push the ball downfield with ease are immediately evident. With simply a flick of the wrist, Richardson can push the ball 50 plus yards down the field effortlessly. Richardson also has the ability to put velocity on his passes that fit the ball into tight, condensed spaces between defenders. Richardson's arm strength allows him to have access to the entire field, and there is simply not a throw that Richardson cannot make. Shown that he can change tempo and trajectories on the football, dropping the ball over the shoulders of receivers or placing them in between 2 defenders in zone, reading coverages, and working through progressions. Richardson shows that he can read defenses, high to low and disciplined enough to take the check down throw underneath when necessary. That's a big skill that a lot of quarterbacks like forget about, is taking the check down throw when just the other options aren't open. Like, this was a bad thing about JJ McCarthy. You know, skilled as he is, he sometimes just never took the check down throw. And I'm like, that is a underrated skill. Take it when there is not an option downfield, or when, you know, the play breaks down. The check down throw is a perfectly viable option. It's not a get out of jail free card. Just take it. It's easy. You know, it's a check down throw for a reason. When it comes to Richardson's athleticism, he's able to use it in both the passing game and as a runner. When protection breaks down, Richardson is able to get through all of his progressions. He can escape the pocket and extend the play to make an out of structure play by either delivering the ball downfield or picking it up and running the football. On designed QB rollouts and bootlegs, Richardson has shown that he can accurately throw the football on the run and properly read three-layered routes, concepts, and deliver the ball accurately on the run. As a runner, Richardson profiles as a powerful runner. On design QB runs, Richardson can become a one-cut runner that can rip off big yard runs in open field. He can also make the decision to run through defenders to pick up yardage in short yardage situations. Richardson's improvements are centered around his accuracy. While Richardson has a strong arm, ball placement, and location are a couple of key elements that Richardson appears to be inconsistent with. It appears Richardson's accuracy comes from his mechanics. When he can operate correctly mechanically, everything looks good. But when he doesn't execute proper mechanics, it leads to missed throws, incompletions, tipped throws, or interceptions. Overall, Richardson is a QB prospect who has all the physical tools that are covered in a modern NFL dual threat quarterback to be a franchise quarterback. But his ability to consistently execute his details of the game, reading coverages and throwing accurate passes, will determine how high his ceiling as a QB can be. Top reasons to buy in: dual threat QB, rare arm strength, and development physical tools. I will say this: there are so few quarterbacks that I've seen that can throw the ball as far as he can, that I'm sometimes just wowed by it. I mean, it looks like he's not even trying when he throws the ball. It looks like he's not even trying. Top reasons for concern: throwing mechanics and accuracy. He has a 4.5 40-yard dash, and he can be drafted as a potential franchise quarterback. He's rated by TDN consensus grade at 81.5. It's technically second round talent, but I don't entirely agree with that. Mid third round is pretty much where I put him. So I think all of these were written. Oh, they weren't. Okay. So the guys who wrote these, their names are Keith Sanchez, and Keith Sanchez, Joey Marino, who else? And Damian Parsons. So Keith Sanchez, Joe Marino, and Damian Parson. So thanks to those guys, they had phenomenal. They really had great breakdowns of the players, and I'll probably end up doing breakdowns of these players on my other channel, on the College Football Fanatics channel. Go check it out. I've been inconsistent as of late, and I apologize for that. I'm trying to get back into it after taking a break from it for a while. So I'll be getting back into that. I'll be having an episode on Wednesday and an episode on Friday for sure, because there are things about football that I want to talk about there. I also want to look through game footage and stuff like that with you guys. So I thank you all for listening. I hope you have a wonderful evening and a wonderful rest of your week. Please come back again. I am on here at 6 p.m. every Monday night until probably the end of the semester. So come back whenever you want. We talk college football. We talk the draft. I may eventually start talking about pro football a little bit more. I don't usually do that now, but we also have a Instagram at CFF underscore official. Or I think, no, sorry, it's CF underscore fanatics underscore official, I think is the official thing. But if you just look up college football fanatics or something like that, it'll show up. No doubt. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please leave a like at the bottom and leave a comment about what you want to see more, what you want to see less of. We talked, great things about Deion Sanders, some of the controversial statements he's made in the past couple of weeks. So thanks a lot. See you guys next time. And hopefully you have a great evening.